Thank you for joining us in this interesting presentation related to effective audit reporting. Now look at the title of our topic today. Did we mention anything about writing audit report? No, no, no. The effective audit reporting, the meaning when we are speaking about reporting is not about going and writing this final audit report. No, reporting about every interaction you will have with the client. So every time you pick up the phone and you call the client, every time you are actually sending an email to the client, every time you are speaking with them face to face and you are doing an interview, and you are actually sending them the final report, every time you have an interaction with them, your body language, your voice, your text, your documents, they actually doing reporting. This is why sometimes the issue for us is we think reporting is only about writing this final report to send it to the client. No. Why we fail at the final stage of the audit? Because we forget that we need to establish that relationship from the beginning, not at the end. And when we are speaking about reporting, why it's very important to focus on reporting? Because at the end, they discover that the stakeholders, they measure the performance of the internal auditor, the meaning they give you bonuses at the end of the year. And they say you have achieved your objective as internal audit department based on only one thing. What is that? The effectiveness of the implementation of the recommendations that you have. The meaning, if you conduct an audit and you uncover so many deficiencies and you have issues and you recommend it to management to fix them, and management, they start to fix them and they didn't fix them at the end of the year, and we still have the risk and disaster happen, what's the benefit of your audit? It's a waste of time. Because at the end, we didn't fix the issues that we need to fix. So how can you be effective from the day one of the audit until the final day to ensure that actually management, they implemented the recommendation? Because that's the success of the audit. The main issue will happen that if you have a brilliant mind inside your head and you don't know how to bring it across, individuals will not understand it. We live in UAE, and in UAE, you are working with different nationality and you are speaking one language, which is English. So when you are speaking this English language and you are telling someone to implement something, do they really understand what you are trying to say, or they understand something differently? And that's exactly sometimes what will happen. They understand differently what you are trying to say. Now, when you are writing audit reports, what can happen? Look what happened to this guy. Mr. Charles, he is the inventor of a very important innovation. He created air cooling engine. In the old days, our cars, they use water to cool the engine. But he said, no, 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 water is not effective. Air cooling engine is much more important and it will make our cars much better. And he was working for GM. So he went to the CEO of GM, he went to the board of directors and he suggested this innovation. CEO was very excited. Senior management, they were so happy. The board of directors supported his idea and he gave him a budget and he told management, listen, from now on, stop the production and change the water cooling engine with an air cooling engine and go forward. Here is the budget, here's the innovation, go ahead. It's an order. And what happened? Nothing happened. They kept producing water cooling engine, and after that, Volkswagen, they created the air cooling engine and they were able to take some of their market share. Now, why the failure happened? The failure happened because very simple. Mr. Charles, he is an innovator. So he was so happy that management told, that board of directors told management, you need to do it, and they allocated the budget to them. So he went back to his innovation lab to come up with a new innovation. And the management, they try to use this new engine, but they figure out, it's difficult, we don't understand it, it's not going to be as effective, we don't know why it's effective. So they decided to go back and reduce the old engine. And this is what will happen in your audit. You come so excited and you tell board of directors, we need management to do these recommendations in the compliance department to help the bank opening in solving their issue. And board of directors, they tell the compliance department will say, of course we are going to do it. Then you, as an auditor, you don't do the follow-up. You go back to your head office and you conduct a new audit and you forget about what happened there. So what compliance, they try to implement this, they try to figure out what will happen, but they say, why? We don't understand the benefit of it. Let's keep doing it the way we do it from the beginning. And board of directors will forget about the issue. This is why it's very important. Number one task for you as an auditor is to do follow-up. You need to follow up with them. You need to check with them. You need to see exactly the implementation. Even if they say we implement it, you need to go and check the effectiveness of this implementation. Because what so many departments they say, oh, you want us to create a policy? Don't worry, here's the policy. We created, but we don't follow the policy. We just created. You want the policy? We have it. So this is very effective, important to do the follow-up. Why follow-up is very important? Because usually in the audit, we follow Newton law. Did you remember Newton law? In Newton law, they say for any action, there is reaction in the opposite direction, but in the same strength. And this is what will happen. The minute you are pushing your recommendations, management, they are pushing back. They are saying, no, we don't want it. This is the nature. Even you, if someone will come to you and tell you now, you want to lose some weight, you say, no, I am perfect. They will tell you, maybe you need to actually use some kind of cream, so in that way you can improve your skin. No, my skin is perfect. We don't like anyone to give us any recommendation. We believe that what we are doing is great, even if these recommendations are good for us, even if we know that these recommendations are great, but we try to defend ourselves by saying, everything in place, we don't recommendation. This is why we need to keep pushing. And you need to make sure that you don't end up your recommendation in what we call the black hole. This is very famous in the Middle East. What's the meaning of black hole? We have forming a committee to create a task force, to choose a team leader, to assemble a board, to hire the best individuals, to find the fastest way to deal with the problem. We create a committee of teams, of discussion, of meeting. The meaning your recommendations are going to go to the black hole. The meaning they will never be implemented. And we can't blame anyone because we have a committee dealing with it. This is why you need to make sure at the end of your recommendations, you list exactly who is the individual who is responsible for implementing these recommendations. Now, sometimes what do they say? It's not about what you say, but it's about how you say that count. The meaning in your wording, when you are writing your report, in your communication with the client, are you pointing finger and saying, we blame you? Are you doing any of this drama saying, actually, the process failed, or you are saying they failed? So you need to be able to understand exactly what you need to do. The process is very simple. If you believe that actually the process failed, you say the process failed. But if you believe the management failed in doing the process, it depends. You check with the audit committee. If the audit committee, they said we need to fire the management or we need to give them warning, you can say management failed. In that way, they will get a warning or they will get actually fired because they actually make the process fail. But if audit committee, they say, no, we just want to alert management. We need to make them aware of the process. So you can again go and say, the process failed. Management, please next time make sure that the process will not fail, but you don't blame it on the management. So we need to understand how we are talking with them because they say, your words are like your swords. Do you remember in the old days in the Arab country, what we do? We carry our swords and we do fights. Today, we are using the words to do that. So what's the meaning using the words? The meaning when you need to communicate any concept, you need to understand who is listening to you. Because your words, the words you select will determine if they will implement it or not. So let's discuss here an interesting concept about understanding the perception of the client. All of you know the supermarket Walmart, hypermarket, one of the largest markets in US. Now, this organization was created by a guy, his name Sam Walton. Sam Walton's got before something called Sam's Club. And for him, he's all about cutting costs. Imagine he's driving the same old car for 17 years. He didn't change his car. He's wearing the same jeans, coming every day to work. So his mindset, his perception is about cutting costs, cutting costs. He decided to create a new supermarket where they are going to call the supermarket something, but he's not sure about the name. So the CEO of this new supermarket came up with an interesting idea. He said, we take the first 3 letters of the last name of Sam Walton, which is W-A-L, and we call it Mart. So we call it Walmart. Nice, catchy name. But how can he convince Sam Walton that this is the right name? If you will go tell him, listen, we found a catchy name called Walmart. He said, I don't care about catchy. I don't care about branding. I care about cutting costs. Focus, my friend. So he thought, okay, I need to speak with him in the same way of thinking. So he came, say, Mr. Sam, we have came up with an amazing name for the new hypermarket. He said, what's the name? He said, Walmart. 7 letters. When we print it in receipts, we don't spend so much ink. When we have it on our stores, it's only 7 letters. It's easy for us to clean and maintain. It will not take so much electricity. So the guy said, 7 letters, short, sweet. Yes, I like it. And they went ahead with the name. So this is why every time you need to communicate to someone, try to show them how this is actually not only beneficial, but try to understand their mindset. This is why from the day one of the audit, try to understand what these individuals, they think about, what these individuals, they care about. If they care about the rating, like you said, about their division, focus on the rating, saying, I'm here to help to ensure your rating is high. So we want to work together to fix these issues. So in that way, you don't have any issue with your rating. Try always to see their perception, what they are looking for, what they are interested in. At the same time, when you are trying to communicate these recommendations to them, make sure that you communicate it in an effective way. I studied journalism with Harvard School. And on my first class, the teacher told me, Iyad, I want you to write a story about an incident happened in your life. So I wrote a story. The teacher took it and she said, Iyad, what is this? What are you doing? I say, well, I'm writing a story about what happened. She said, no. She took the story and she smashed the story. She told me, you are wasting our time. You are telling us about what happened. I said, of course, you told me that I need to tell you about what happened. She said, no, you didn't listen. I told you, you need to actually write a story to show us what happened. I said, what is the difference between telling you what happened and showing you what happened? She said, when you are actually telling us what happened, in that way you are telling in the story, the lady was angry and the lady, and now you are telling us, no. The right way of writing any story in journalism, you need to show us. You need to tell us she came and her face was red, and actually she was having this, her eyes were open, and after that she was shouting. So based on all these descriptions that you are writing in your story, you are showing us how she's angry. You don't just tell us she's angry. And this is exactly what happened in the audit. How many times you write an audit report or you communicate to the client by telling them? So that we tell them, we have this transaction, we have this, we have that. The telling is not going to help because the clients are not going to imagine what's going on. You need to show them what's happening. You need to give them a specific example so they can imagine the situation that the client went with, or the account, or what happened, rather than telling them something in general. So here's an example for you. This is a construction company. And the construction companies, they have so many construction projects. They have 14 construction projects in Alaska. And Alaska is very cold. So when the auditors, they went to audit all these projects, they discovered that, look what's happening. Some workers, they have gloves, but not all of them, they have the perfect gloves that they are, from safety standpoint, is the standard. And they are not helping them from actually making sure that their hands are not cold in Alaska. So they went back to board of directors. Remember, I'm not speaking to management. They went back to board of directors and they say, hey, board of directors, we have an issue. In our 14 sites, we don't have a standard gloves for our workers. And we have 1,000 workers. We would like your permission to approve for us from the finance department to go speak with the purchasing and buy gloves for them. Board of directors said, okay, good idea. Yes, this is important observation because we don't want our workers anything to happen to them. How much is that? They say for gloves is $50. We have 1,000, so $50,000. The board of directors said, $50,000? Oh my God, a lot of money. Not approved. What board of directors not approved? Do you know your last board of directors meeting was costing $20,000 for you and your board member at the head of the office? And now you are saying, it's not approved? Well, this is what board of directors say. Why auditors failed? Because they didn't show them, they tell them. So what internal auditors decided to do, they decided to go and show them. They brought to the board of directors meeting all the gloves and they put them on the table for board of directors to actually touch them, to see them, to wear them. And at that point, when board of directors, they saw the gloves and they were wearing them and checking them, they say, oh my God, this is completely not acceptable. Yes, now we approved you for you to go and buy gloves. And this is why sometimes you need to show them. If you have anything related to operation inside your bank and you will take photo for it, you show them. Sometimes you take video for it, you show them. So they will understand exactly what we are talking about. And sometimes how you show them, by telling them a story about certain account that this happened to it, that story will explain exactly what you are trying to say. So showing is very important. Also, when you are writing your audit report, you need to know who is going to read your audit report. So if we are speaking about higher management reading the report, you need to always start with a conclusion, because they don't care about the root cause. They don't care about your recommendations. They say, okay, so what's the conclusion? What's the rating? This is what they care about at the beginning. If you are speaking about middle management, they care about the key results. Okay, what are the main issues that you have faced during your audit? If you are speaking about the direct managers, they care about the recommendations. Okay, so what are the recommendations that we need to work on to fix these issues? But if you are speaking with the low-level employees, they want the corrective action, the actions plan, the project plans, what they are gonna do step by step for them to be able to implement these recommendations in their work. This is why it's very important to know sometime when we are writing a report, we need to change this report. It depends on who reading the report. But if you buy any of these new reporting techniques, software, these reporting softwares, what will do? Will take your report, and based on who's reading the report and logging into the portal, it will change the order based on what they are looking for. We call it interactive reporting. So at the end of your audit, the main objective is for us to bring these results, to explain to everyone what's going on. But we need to be careful with the language we use. What's the meaning of the language we use? And what I'm gonna say, maybe you are already doing it, right or wrong. And this is where it's time for you to check. If you write in any of your audit report the word finding, if you say, these are our audit findings, that's wrong. IIA said the word findings only can be used for fraud. Fraud is hidden, and while you are conducting some investigation, you uncover the fraud, so you found it. But when you are doing internal audit, you didn't find anything. It's not like this glass was here and I found it. No, the glass is already there before you come as an auditor. But when you came as an auditor, you observed it. You noticed that the glass is here and it should not be here, it should be here. So this is why you need to be very careful as an auditor. When you are writing your report, you can't use the word, we have found the deficiency, because you couldn't find it, it's there already. Only you can say you have found fraud. Finding fraud, yes, but finding, or you can say something like this, we discovered this deficiency. You didn't discover anything, the deficiency was already there. You can say we noticed, we observed, we noted. So make sure in your writing of the documentation in your audit work and your final audit report, you don't use the word findings or discoveries. You use always the word conclusions. You use always the word related to, okay, how can we actually, we have looked at, we have observed, we have noticed. So these are the words that you use here. Now, also, when you are communicating, you need to communicate significance. What's the meaning communicating significance? The meaning trying to ensure that the words that you are delivering, focusing on the main objective things. So don't try to focus so much on the details. The meaning, how many times you are auditing certain processes and then you smash in the face of the management and the board of directors. You say, oh, these are all the transactions that there are errors in it. So board of directors say, so what can we do? Where's the significance here? How can we understand what's the meaning of that? What's the meaning significance when we speak about significance? Look what they are saying. They say, if you don't understand it, if you can't explain it in the right way, you don't understand it enough. This is why when you are delivering your audit report, you should focus on significance rather than details. For example, would you say it's a 1,500 kilo mass approaching at the speed, because you are putting all the details on numbers and the transaction and the amount, and then the guy will die, the organization, it will take time to think about the implementation, or you need to say, look out, something is approaching, and we avoid it. This is why you need to focus on significance. Significance is what's important. The meaning, you need to highlight the issue. You need to explain exactly what is the issue. When I'm driving my car and I can see all this stuff blinking, I don't want someone to say, well, your gas is this, and I need, okay, so what's the result? Can I drive the car? Is it okay? Or should I take it to a mechanic? I want to know exactly the significance. I don't want someone to tell me details I will not understand. And this is what will happen. You go smash in front of the client a full report saying these are all the account payable that actually outstanding now. We have this amount, we have this organization, they are aging in this period. So what can I do with them? What you need to do, you need to bring them into significance by saying actually this is the summary of the account. By saying let's do aggregates by amount. We have an amount of 25,000, they are outstanding for more than 30 days. Or we have by numbers 9 accounts out of 75, which is 12%, see, giving the significance. They are outstanding for more than 30 days. Or account payable for customers are outstanding, which is 7 out of 20 for more than 30 days. Or you can use it by range. You can say we have account receivables are ranging between 35 to 97 days. Or you can say they are actually between 1,000 to 10,000. You can use numbers by using charts, see, to focus more on significance, to show more significance, which division is causing most of the issues, to show even the amount, which amount is we are focusing on more. So it's very important today, especially today, where board of director and audit committee, they are saying, we need your report to be like infographic, where you are communicating to us using visualization, what are the issues we need to focus on, the high risk area, rather than giving us a report where we don't understand where we start from. So moving forward, all the reports need to focus on showing rather than telling. So it will be easier for everyone to understand the process. But at the same time, don't forget that you need to include also in your conclusion why this happened and so what is the risk. So we need to know why they are outstanding for more than 35 days and what is the effect, how this is gonna actually help us or not help us in managing our cash flow. So this is always important. Not only mention exactly what is the conclusion, always speak about the root cause and speak about the risk related to it. Now we need to discuss something very important, which is the way you write. When you are writing in your audit work, when you are writing in your working papers, you start by writing details and details and details. Then you write summary, then you come up with a conclusion. So you say, we have collected the policy and the procedure from the client, and we noticed that this what happened, and by looking at the procedure, see, you are speaking with the details. At the end is your conclusion. But when you are writing the audit report or you are communicating your results, it should be the opposite. You should always start with the conclusion. You can say, the conclusion is this. Then if you want more details, you can read after. So this is why you need to change your way of writing to always focus on the issue rather than focusing on the testing. But in your work programs, you focus on the testing. Make sure you are not creating a treasure hunt map where someone had to read, and at the end, you say, oh, this is the conclusion. Why I am reading background? While you are telling me the issues about it. I have so many internal audit departments in UAE. When I reviewed the report, they always start with background. They love this background. I say, what is this background? They say, we are telling board of director and audit committee about this division, that this division was established on this time, or these processes were implemented by this person, or this is what happened, or the new changes, or the main reason why you are doing the audit. I said, no, I don't care. We never start with background. We only start with background if we are speaking about fraud case to explain to the reader how we came to know about this fraud case. But when you are writing audit report, background is not important. And evidence is not important. I saw an audit report where they start, internal audit team had conducted an intensive testing and have collected so many. Don't tell me about how much work you did. I don't care. You again use that in fraud reporting. Why? Because in fraud reporting, I want to see that you have conducted the proper testing to come up with the conclusion, because it's a fraud case. You are not guessing. But here with internal audit, we know that. So you take the background and evidence and you put it at the end of your report. What I want you to start with, I want you to start with the conclusions, recommendations. This is the starting point. So let's see how you write your observation when you are working inside your audit. Compare when you are writing your final audit report. In your audit, inside your audit, you say, per testing of this division during this time in this area, we have they are supposed to do this in this way, based on the policy and the procedures. But we have noticed that they are doing this, which is not according to the policy and procedure. We have checked with them, and because of that, they are actually not following the policy and procedure. And because they didn't follow the policy and procedures, that resulted of the following, and this is the corrective action that they need to have. This is completely perfect and correct when you are writing your work papers. But the minute you need to move these observations to your report, you need to change the way you write. You write in this way. We have noticed the issue. So you are highlighting the deficiency. You are not speaking about the correct state. And you are telling what is the corrective action. I don't want to know how you did and what is the root cause. Here, what is important for me is to know exactly what happened and how can we correct it. If someone would like to get more details, they can go to appendix number 17 where all the observation details is there. But in my audit report, it should be short and sweet, highlighting the main issue by speaking about what happened and what is the recommendations. Now, we need to understand the observation structure, the meaning, what are the attribute sequence? What is the attribute naming? What is the attribute format? Why? When I am reading any report, like when you are reading the newspaper, always the highlights are really big and they are catchy. The meaning they will catch your attention. So how many times when you are writing your audit report, your highlights are catchy? Or you say, for example, audit of account opening. Is this catchy? No. You say, yeah, what? This is actually the title of the segment in the report. Yes, your title should be catchy. Your title should be like a headline, should communicate exactly to the reader what is the issue. And we will discuss that later. How can you make your title catchy? At the same time, how you are actually writing this observation. Are you saying, for example, account opening, all the observations here. The other procedures, you do all the observations here. This is one way. So in that way, you are putting them based on category of the audit. But in my opinion, not all the time this is the effective way. Why? Because if you are auditing in this branch so many issues, maybe the effective way is to say significant observations and have them here all related to everything, or maybe there you can classify them. But classify much better by saying significant and insignificant rather than actually classifying by different titles. And now I need to look, okay, first section, where is significant here? Okay, go down here, significant. I go down here, significant. So I'm trying to catch this significance around. Always the reader at the beginning of the reading, he should see anything material, significant, critical. And the naming should be in the right way. And the formatting, are we making them in bold or red color to show they are significant? So that way, this visual representation will help the reader understand that these are the risky area that they need to address first. At the same time, what kind of words are you using when you are writing? Are you agreeing on the word? The meaning, I have seen so many reports. Sometimes they call them auditee. Sometimes they call them client. Decide. Sometimes you call them deficiencies. Sometimes you call them weaknesses. Sometimes you call them gaps. So you need to decide exactly before we start the audit, what is the term we are going to use for every concept. At the same time, if you use terms like ERM, enterprise risk management, make sure that sometimes readers will not understand. So what I will do in my report, I don't want to explain it. So I can put a star next to it there, and in the bottom of the same page, I can explain that term if we are using technical term. Or if you are using some terms to explain to them what you are doing. For example, we are testing, we are evaluating, we are assessing. Now, testing, evaluating, and assessing, they are the same meaning, but don't use them in the same document where someone will say, wait, here they say they assessed, and here they say they tested. Maybe this is different? No. So this is why use the standardized format always. You say evaluate, 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 test, 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 assess, 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 assess. So you're not changing these words between different paragraphs in your report where you are confusing the reader. What if you use certain codes? So you are using AMZ, which means something inside your organization. Maybe the reader will not understand it. So this is why sometimes it's useful to explain it only for the first time, and after that, the reader can see it. The same thing if you use abbreviation. If you decide to abbreviate something, like for example, in UAE Financial Audit Department, if you decide to take the word Financial Audit Department and to make it easy, you abbreviate it. Also the same thing, abbreviated on the first time it will appear in your report, and then use the abbreviation later for referring to this idea. Your report should have this impact on the client, should make the client surprised that, oh my God, if you don't have the impact on the client saying, these are the major issues, the meaning you failed in communicating your result. The client should really pay attention to your report to understand, okay, this is exactly what happened. This is why we say that 3 objectives of audit report is the following. Number 1 is to persuade the client. You need to convince them about the issues that happen. Number 2, you need to inform them about the issue. You need to tell them, here are the issues that you need to be aware about. And number 3, you need to record the incident that happened. So when we think about it, persuading the client is necessary for them to take action. Informing them is important for them to implement the corrective action, and recording, it will tell them exactly about the result of your audit. So let me now ask you a question. Let's make it interactive. If we are asking questions, and if we are trying to do financial audit, what do you think the way of our report, what is the focus should be? On persuading them, informing them, or recording? You can write in the question and answer section. What do you think, we need to focus on? What should be our focus? Should we try to convince them, or informing them, or record the transaction? Well, what you said is completely correct. We need to inform them. Remember, when you are actually reading any of these financial reports, auditing of financial statement, I would like to inform you that the financial statements are according to GAAP or according to IFRS or not. So the objective is to inform. So this is why the language you need to use is focusing on informing them. What if we are doing compliance audit? What is our first objective in the beginning of the report to do? Is it to persuade them, to inform them, or to record? What is the first thing we need to focus on and have it in our back head when we are writing the report? What do you think? Persuading them, informing them, or recording? Well, the correct answer is recording. Like the police officer, if you get a fine, if you are doing something illegal, first the police officer will take his device and will capture you taking that violation. Then he will give you the fine. So the meaning, he will record the issue. And our objective is to highlight, to record the issue that are happening. Then we inform them that you should not actually do it. Do we need to convince them? No need. The meaning, when you are with compliance issue, you need to understand, if you are not in compliance, you need to be in compliance. It's not like, well, it's much better for you to drive slowly on the road. Well, if you don't drive slowly on the road, I don't need to convince you, I give you a fine. Finally, when we speak about operation, always you need to know that the main objective of your report when you are writing, you need to convince them. Why is much better to implement it? How this will help the operation, how this will improve the process. So convincing them is the main objective when we are writing our report. All right, so when we are speaking about the right approach of reporting the audit, you need to understand that reporting is completely different than writing reports. Because reporting is all about communicating. It can be in writing, it can be related to the observation that you are speaking about, it can be related to the correspondence, the body language, the media, the visual, the design. Every interaction, every communication with the client is actually reporting. So who usually we report to? We can report to the business owners, we can report to the management, to the executive management, we can report to different committee, we can report to board of director, it can be external auditor or external stakeholders. This is why when you are writing the report, the first step you need to ask yourself, how many individuals are going to read the report and what kind of information they are looking for inside the report and what kind of details they have or understanding of the operation. To understand, should you elaborate and speak about the issues or you should just give them a summary? This is very important. This is why sometimes we need to know exactly the format of the report. Are we by the end of our audit going to provide an oral report, the meaning you are just going to report it to them, or you are going to have a detailed summary report describing everything in details, or you are going to have informal report, or you are just going to give them summary of the audit issues that you have observed during your audit. Very important before you start to understand who's going to read the report and what kind of expectation. Are they expecting a formal presentation or informal report? Now, when we are speaking about reporting, reporting will not happen only after the audit. It will happen before the audit, it will happen during the audit, and it will happen after the audit as well. Because actually reporting is a process. We'll start from the first minute you pick up your phone and you call the client. You say, hi, we are from the internal audit. We are coming to audit you. And you can see their reaction. You can see if they say, oh, no, we are busy, come later. Or you can see, yes, we would like to. All this is reporting. And after that, when you go and meet with them, when you send them the engagement letter, when you collect the documents from them, when they actually do an interview with, when you do an interview with them, when you conduct the actual testing, when you communicate the early observation to them, and when you send them the final report and how they respond to you. All this is part of the reporting process. So what will usually will happen before the audit? First, like we say, it's very important to sit down and understand their expectation for the board of director and for the senior management, what they are expecting our audit to do. And then we need to discuss with them and define what is the objective of our audit. And we need to report to them the primary audit plans, the meaning what are the issues that we have actually noticed and observed at the beginning before conducting the audit that led us to believe that this is a high risk area, and what are we going to do during our audit to test it. So this is where they need to get this report from you. Then during the audit, you are going to go and interact with the management and collect all the relevant information. Collect them in a way that will not actually cause waste of resources. If they send you a report as PDF, you review it as a PDF. No need for you to print it. You are going to collect the logical information that can help you in doing your work. We are not going to collect everything. We are not going to confuse anyone. So this is the communication with you and the client will help to ensure that you are collecting the relevant information that will help you in coming to the right conclusion. And then we have issues with this reporting. What? Look, Shakespeare was speaking about that. He said, and how this his audit stand, who knows save heaven. Even Shakespeare is speaking about audit. The meaning, when you are conducting the audit, during the audit, you need to keep the communication open between you and the client, between you and the division you are auditing. Look how we used to do it in US. In US, when I was working and auditing hedge funds, on a daily basis, and sometimes more than one time a day, on a daily basis at least, I will go and approach the person in charge that we are working with him. And I will say, I would like to take from your time around 5 to 10 minutes to give you an update about the early observation that we have, to get your feedback about them. I don't want to wait until after 1 week, until after 2 weeks and say, okay, 17 observation. Let me tell you what we have noticed. No, this is not the right approach. You need to update them on a continuous basis about what is the status of your audit, where your audit is standing. You should communicate it clearly to them so they understand. Always update the client. That's the whole idea. So how can I always update the client in a way that will make him and me on the same page? We call it status meeting progress reporting. What's the meaning status meeting progress reporting? I don't know if you are doing this or not, but this is best practice. The best practice is to do the following. I'm going to show it to you, then we will discuss. You create a document. It can be a Word document, it can be an Excel document. We call it preliminary observation document. And you can write under it, subject to discussion. So you are telling him, here are the early observations that we have noticed, and they are subject to discussion. They are not final. We are not saying that we have an issue. We are saying these are the issues we would like to discuss them with you. We have noticed at the beginning of our audit. So if you have any questions, you can write it actually in the question and answer, and I will help you with it. Now, in this document, what you will do, you will say what is required. You show them that the policy and the procedure say these are the issues that you need to do. They know and you know. Then you tell them, when we started our audit, we have noticed that what's happening different what you are doing. And because of that, these are the consequences that can happen inside your organization. So now, when we asked you about it, or when we asked the person in charge, he said that this is the reason. Now, these are our recommendations that you need to implement to ensure that actually these issues are solved. Now, if you have a document like this where you share it with them on a daily basis, or you share, or it's actually on the server, anytime they can log in and they can see it, it will help you and them always stay on the same page. They understand where your audit is standing. So let me explain what's that. This document, we call it, presenting observation in writing to the client. And what the name of the document? We call it the preliminary observation document subject to discussion. Will help you and the client to ensure there is a clarity about the facts. They know exactly what are the facts related to the audit. Number two, it will make sure all your observations are complete and documented in one sheet so everyone can understand that this is only the issues that you have noticed. Also, in this document, compared to your final audit report, where you only have the summary, in this document, you can have details. For example, you can tell them loan number 17 and loan number 20, and you can say the issues, and you can have more details because they will actually go and understand what's going on inside their operation. And this information will not be shared later in the audit report. At the same time, client can review it to ensure you are using the right wording. For example, when you are writing a report, you say, well, the loan officer mistakenly, you say, no, please remove the word mistakenly. Just say he didn't collect the correct information, but don't say mistakenly. Don't show that he was actually doing an error or mistake or actually he failed. So they will try to help you change the language. Sometimes you say, yeah, but should we change the language? Yes, if it will help the client to take the corrective action. Remember, at the end of the day, our objective is to make sure the issue is solved, not to fight about the wording. You did it, I did it. No, let's solve the issue. At the same time, it will help you getting agreement from the client to actually do these recommendations. Because at this stage, you are going to say, okay, here are the 17 issues that we have so far, and we are updating you every day. Do you agree that these are the recommendations you need to implement? They said yes. So later, when we publish the final report, we already reach an agreement. They agree exactly what we need to do. So there is no issue for us to argue later. And at the same time, it will help us to get their feedback about what kind of corrective action needed to be done by them, so that way they can resolve the issue. And later, this document that we created now during our audit, we can carry it and put it finally where in our final audit report, take the summary out of it, because it's already documenting all the information related to the observation that we have. Now, I have a question here. The question, can audit provide recommendations? So let me explain to you the concept of recommendations. So let's start with this. When you observe during your audit an issue, the meaning, what's going on inside the organization is not matching the policy and procedures, we say we have a gap, we have an issue, we have an observation, we have a weaknesses or deficiency. Because we have this weakness and deficiency, you as an auditor, you can provide the recommendations. So look, what you do as an auditor, you provide recommendations. Now the management, they can accept, they can agree or disagree with you on the recommendation. Remember, they can agree or disagree. They can't reject it. This is your recommendation. The meaning, you are getting the delegation from the board of directors to give them this recommendation, because board of directors say this is how the policy should be. You went to operation, you notice it's not happening. So you are giving them recommendation, how they need to fix the issue so they are following the policy. So they can agree or disagree with you related to the recommendation. Now, the minute they agree with you to the recommendation, now the ball is in their side. Now they need to give us corrective action. They need to give us action plans. The meaning, they need to tell us how they are going to implement this recommendation from technical standpoint. We don't do technical standpoint. So then when they are going to solve the issue from technical standpoint and tell us, well, we are going to implement control number 1 and control number 2 and control number 3. Are you happy? Is this going to help you ensure that your recommendations are working? We at this time, we can accept it or reject it. We can say, no, 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 they are not going to be effective, or we can say yes. So again, the concept is like this. They need to agree on our recommendations, and then they need to give us corrective actions, and we can accept or reject their corrective actions. What is the difference between recommendations and corrective actions? Recommendations, you are telling them in general what needs to be done. For example, you know, the supervisor inside your department is not reviewing all the loans. So in that way, our recommendations that you need to implement a control to ensure that the supervisor is reviewing all the loans. We don't tell them which control. We don't tell them implement this control, that control. Now they need to tell us which control they are going to implement, the corrective action, the control that they are going to have in place. Then we can accept or reject this control that they are going to have in place. What if they come up and say, oh, we don't know which control? Why don't you, auditor, you are smart, huh? You tell us which control. We tell them, no, no, sorry. But if you want, we can share with you the research. Based on the central bank, he said the recommended controls to ensure is this. Or based on the current practices in 70% of the banks, this is what they are doing. And some banks, they are doing this. And these are the advantages and disadvantages of every control. Now you need to decide. If you implement any of that, for us, we accept it. You decide. Because you understand operation. We don't understand the operation. We are auditors. You see whatever will fit you implement. But if you implement anything out of that, or you give us something out of the ordinary, we need to verify to see if it's going to actually work. And again, who's supporting us? Board of directors is always supporting us. So let's see exactly how we can look at this observation. So when you are conducting an audit, you notice an observation. Then you say, oh my God, it's an observation. So if it's an observation, you can go with yes. If it's not an observation, you go with no. You say, yeah, what's the meaning of observation? You notice that one loan was not approved. And you go look at it, then you say, oh, no, no, they approve it. That was by mistake. It said not approved on the file, but actually, when you open the file, it was approved. So that way you selected the wrong loan. So you say, oh, it's okay, it's not our observation, don't worry. But if it's an observation, we need to discuss, is this observation related to the operation, or related to the compliance, or related to the financial reporting? So you need to classify what kind of observation that you have. After that, you need to say, is this observation related to the design adequacy of the control? The meaning the control failed in the design, and this is why we have this observation, or it's related to the operation of the control that's not operating effectively. So you need to decide, this observation is related to the design of the control or to the effectiveness of the control. Then after that, you need to decide, is this insignificant, significant, or material? If the issue is insignificant and is not related to key control, we can actually ignore it. We can just tell them, you know, just informally, why don't you take a look at this? Maybe you need to actually fix it, because it's not a big major issue. We can tell them, just ensure that these issues are you know, fixed, on that way it will not cause any issue. It's okay. Not a big deal. But if it's insignificant, but is related to key control, the meaning this may have an impact on us achieving the goals and objective. It's not significant, but it's related to key control. So look what we do as an auditor. We tell management, listen, as long as you solve this issue, before we publish our audit report, we will not include it in our audit report. Why? It's insignificant. But we will not move until you fix it. So if you fix it before the publish of the audit report, we will not include it. Why? Because it's not significant. But if you don't fix it, we have to include it, because if it's not fixed, it can lead to a significant issue. Now, what about if we found something significant, something that's really causing a major issue? In that way, even if they fix it before the end of the audit, we still have to mention it. We can mention that we have observed this significant observation and the management, they have fixed the issue. But it's, for us, it's important for us to mention it. But what if we have material issue? Someone will tell me, yeah, what if we have material issue? What if you have material issue? Please stop your audit. Material issue. If you are going to the warehouse and you notice the warehouse door is open and there is no control, you don't say, it's a material issue, we are going to report in what to report in the next report. My friend, go call someone from security, say that the door is open, we don't know what's happening, you need to come and close it now. So when we have material issue like fraud, like, you know, a big anti-money laundering case, like illegal activities, financial crime, we need to stop our audit immediately, like legal violation. You need to immediately stop your audit and contact the concerned department and address the issue on the spot. You can say, okay, we are going to include it in our report. Of course, you are going to include it in your audit report on the first line and on top. But as of now, you need to fix the issue. So these are the ways we handle insignificant, significant, and material observation. Now, there is a very interesting way for you to be able to collect the information from the client. So let me explain this way, then tell you inside your department how you can do it. So when we were coming as regulators, remember, we were regulators, and we were coming as regulators to audit the hedge funds. The first thing we do, we conduct an interview with the management. And we tell them, do you have any customer complaints? Of course, what management will say, of course, no customer complaints. All right, do you have any errors in the trading system? Oh, no, of course, no error. Okay, fine. Do you have any of your employees was actually fined for any violation of trading? Of course, no violation of trading. Then when we go conduct the audit, we discover they have some customer complaints, some violations. We discover they have some error. Then what management will say? Management will say, oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot completely that 3 months ago we have this issue. They forgot, huh? But now we have an issue in verifying, because they say, oh, I didn't tell you. I thought I told you about it in the interview. Maybe I forgot. I didn't tell you. So what we do to solve this issue, the argument that they said or they didn't say, or they forgot or they didn't tell us, we request from them management representation letter. The meaning, when we go and speak with them, whatever they say, we write it down. By the end of the interview, we give it to them. We say, please sign here that this is your statement. Later, you can say you forgot or you told us or you didn't tell us. Can you do this in your bank? Can you go to the branch manager or the head of the unit? And I say, after you do an interview with him or he is giving a statement about his operation, you say, sir, by the end, please sign. Of course, they say, I will not sign anything. Do whatever you want. So what is the solution for you to get this management representation letter from the client? Easy. Anytime you go audit any unit and you do an interview with someone, you write the main key points and you send them an email, and the title of the email, you tell him this is your unit or your management representation related to the operation. And you write in the subject, in the body of the email, you will say, based on our discussion and the information you have provided, I have attached for you the following points that you have mentioned. You have 2 days to review it and come back to me if you have any clarification or if you would like to add any points. In case you don't come back to me with any feedback, I will consider this as your official management representation related to the operation. He can't say, well, I didn't read the email, I have no time. It's his job to read the email and he respond to it. This is a way for us to get a document in our hands to show what the management represented. So this is a very powerful document. So later we can use it as an evidence saying, okay, this is what they said, look here, and this is what's happening in operation. So it's not matching. So we have an issue. Why they don't know or why they are not telling us about what's going on inside the operation. Again, it's up to your head of internal audit to decide if they are going to implement this approach. But this approach will help us in ensuring we are getting the statement of the people in the operation. They can't change their statements later. Now we will get to the exit meeting. And what will happen in the exit meeting? Disaster, drama will happen in the exit meeting. And why this disaster and drama will happen? Remember, you are working in the internal audit department. Do you understand the banking operation? A little bit, but the guys who are doing loans, they understand banking operation. Do you understand the credit card operation? A little, but the guys who are handling banking, they understand the credit card more. And what will happen sometime? The internal auditor will decide to come and tell them the technical solution. Like we said, you should not tell them the action plans, the technical solution. You should only give them the recommendations. When you are actually going and telling that you have to implement something, it's not going to work. You need to always give them the overall recommendation and they need to come up with the action plans. Otherwise, you are going to be part of the implementation. They are going to blame you for the actual corrective action. But what will happen sometime when we are communicating? The issue is the culture. If you have individuals with different culture and you are communicating and you are not considering the cultural issue, especially here in UAE, you can be working in the same organization and you have Indian, Chinese, Arab, British, American, Pakistani, from all the nationalities, they are working together. So are we understanding the language that they are using and the culture? Sometimes we have issue with the language. The language, which we call it English, not everyone will understand it in the same way, and the culture is not actually communicated in the right way. Like this. This is why culture can eat strategy for breakfast. So do we consider the culture when we are communicating the meaning? When we go to a British person compared to going to Arab person, do we understand their culture? Do we understand their personality? Because maybe our approach should be different. I know so many of my friends, they approach someone with authority and he is, for example, Emiratis or he's British, and they tell him, this is what have we observed. They say, who are you? Get out of my office. So you need to make sure that when you are going to approach someone, understand exactly their position, their background, their personality before you are going to approach them. Or you are going to have mistakes related to culture and language. Then after that, reporting after the audit. After the audit, how are you generating this report? Are you using Word document to write the report? Please don't tell me you are using Word document. The meaning you are going to write the report and you are going to have version 1 and version 1.1 and 1.111 and 3, and then someone will change it. Then we don't understand which one is we are using. We need to have the proper reporting tools. These reporting tools, they will help us in doing the reporting of the audit in the right way. So let me explain to you what's the meaning proper reporting tool. This stage is very critical in ensuring your implementation is effective in the audit. When we were working in my organization in US, we have a reporting tool, and look what will happen. When we are writing our work in our testing, if we notice an observation related, for example, to anti-money laundering testing, we click, and at that time, we will have list of observation. You say, what's the meaning list of observation? Inside your work, inside the bank, you should have list of observation. The meaning, when you go audit a branch, you know what are the observations. Loans are not approved. Loans are missing documents. Loans are approved improperly. Loans are approved in the correct way. You have list of observations. So why don't you say, loan, which is LIC, which is internal control deficiency, you say LIC1, LIC2, LIC3, and you mention for everyone the description of the observation, and then you leave the reason empty because the reason is based on what happened in that observation. But the recommendation is actually written already, that the recommendation, we need to make sure that you are following the policy and procedures when you are doing the loan process, or you need to make sure that the supervisor is approving. So if you write the title of the observation correctly one time, and you write the recommendation correctly one time, the only thing you need to do in your audit is you need to click get the right observation for the issues that you are facing, and then the system immediately will document the observation, will document the recommendation, and will tell you what's the recommendation, and you only document the reason why this happened. If you have a system like this where you have a list of all the deficiencies that you have in advance, that will help make sure that the language you are using in your report and in all your report is a standardized language. The information are not going to change. At the same time, it will help you in your final report. For example, in my organization, I'm doing anti-money laundering testing, and they say, do they actually have a provision related to OFAC list, OFAC monitoring, or OFAC checking verification? I say yes. If I say yes, yes. If I say no, now immediately they say, well, this is observation related to anti-money laundering 7, for example, AIC 7. And they tell me the issue that they don't have this provision, and then the corrective action easy. They need to ensure that they will add this provision to their anti-money laundering policy. Now, then they will give me option, report or not report. The meaning, do I consider this is a significant issue that I say yes, so it will move directly from my audit work program to the final report, or I will say not report, so it will stay in my testing, it will not go to the report. If you have a system like that, where you are actually documenting all your observation and the observation coming from library of observation, and then you have a way to move them directly to the final report, you don't need to wait at the end to actually manually copy and paste all this observation and reformat them and rechange the wording, because they already standardized, they already automated, the reporting process is automated. And this is the best way, where you have the report generated in an automated way. Not only that, my director in the head office, while I'm in California doing the audit, he can log into the system and he can see the final report as the report is progressing. I mean, he can go and see, oh, we have this observation. Oh, this is the issue. Oh, this is the reason. He can see exactly what's happening, and we are on top of everything while we are doing the audit. We are not going to wait until the end to see exactly the process. So this is why we are saying the way you are writing that report, reporting after the audit, should be automated, should actually follow a certain structure. And with that structure, how sometimes we look at it, some of these reporting tools that they have in some consulting firm, you can actually have the list of the observation. Do you want to know more details? You click, there's a plus button, and you see exactly all the more information you want. So for you, we call it one-page report. The meaning, the board of director audit committee will get one-page report showing all the observation, if they are material and if they are significant. Then they can click see more information. They can click see more information. They can click, they will go get more information. So it's more than just a Word document for 17 pages smashed in their face, and now they need to go and read everything in it. So this is the effective way of actually writing that report. All right. This is the main concept that we are going to cover related to reporting for this segment.